makes you more skilled. So the more conversations you have, the more skilled you become, the more skilled you get at talking about real estate, establishing your value, your credibility, what you do to solve people's problems, what you do to save them time, what you do to save them money. Because don't get it twisted. People only care about themselves, their time, and their money. So what you need to do is be able to communicate that.
All right, we're here. We're back. Welcome, folks, to another episode of the show. Today, I got a treat for you guys. I think you're really going to like this. I was at a conference. This was a few months ago. I was at a conference, and I happened to stumble onto this guy that we're talking about. This was not a real estate conference, actually. It was a, high-level CRM technology conference called That Agency Work. And, we just started talking about what we did. And this guy, just starting dropping these, value bombs about talking to real estate agents, about what agents should be doing better, about the biggest mistakes agents make, right? And, and I was like, okay, so this guy might be someone I need to know. And it turns out we know a lot of people in common, right? Like Michael Reese and other people, I'm in his organization in EXP. And I'm like, well, yeah, I know exactly who you are, right? So, he was gracious enough with his time. He's a busy guy. Could jump on here and go live in the group and share some of that wisdom, drop some of those knowledge bombs, left and right. So we got here today with you folks, master prospector, master listing agent, coach, educator, all the entrepreneur, right? Information, entrepreneur, all that fun stuff. Haas Pratt is here. So Haas, for the people that might not know you, right? Why don't you give us a quick intro, kind of who you are, how did you get into real estate, right? And what do you see as the big opportunities in this market? Go for it, man.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. Likewise, man. I enjoyed meeting you, Gus. I'm proud to be here. My first goal is to get Listing Boss, my book, in your background. That's my first goal.
100%. So, we're going to make it happen. We're going to make it happen.
We're getting Listing Boss back there, baby. So let me just tell you a quick story. I've been in real estate 20 years. I got in whenever I was in my early 20s, like 22 years old. Became known as the Listing Boss because I took 30 listings in 30 days. I didn't know a single soul. I was selling in Dallas, Texas. I didn't know anybody there. Mike Reese was my number one competitor when I sold real estate. And so that's my claim to fame is I was the young agent, brand new market. Never worked a buyer in my life, but I took listings and I took a lot of them. And so people wanted to know how I did it. Like, how is this new agent, this kid? I look like I was 13 years old, taking so many listings.
How is he doing it? Right. Yeah.
And that's how I started teaching. So I sold real estate for 5 years. And then for 15 years, I have been coaching and training agents all around the world. And that's what I still do today. What we're going to talk about today is how agents can put signs in the ground in their market. And it's my favorite topic. And it's what I'm passionate about is helping agents. I believe that in real estate, you got to have freedom in real estate. You got to have inventory. You have to control your inventory. And that means putting signs in the ground, which is taking listings and stacking them. So, that's what I do.
100%. I love it, Haas, because right now, 2024, when I talk to agents, right, they want more listings. They want to talk to more sellers, right? That's what they want because we're like in year number 13 of a hot sellers market or 12. I don't know. It's been a long time, man. It's been a long time where the sellers market just gets hotter and hotter. There's been some ups and downs in the market, not going to lie, right? But even with the little blip we saw in 2020, 2023, 2022, like there's been some ups and downs, still a seller's market. Haas, I don't know if you know this, but we're barely at half the inventory we had, active listing inventory, than we had in 2019 at this same time, like spring, summertime, the peak season. We're at about a little bit above half of the inventory we normally have in a regular market. And there's a bunch of reasons for that. The point is, agents want to get more listings, right? And they're competing like never before for some of these listings. And, an agent's out there And they're stressed out, man. They're stressed out about this NAR settlement. They're stressed out about the market, about 7% interest rates. They're stressed out about the election, about, I don't know, Ukraine. Who knows? There's all this noise, right? All this noise coming at them. Agents are worried about that, concerned about that. But what should they be concerned with? What should they be focusing on if they want to, like you said, you want to put signs in the ground. Let's say you're talking to one of your, like a newbie, like a noob coaching client, hires Haas and goes, Haas, I got to put more signs in the ground. I'm tired of working with buyers. This NAR thing, breathing down my neck. I want to be in control. I want to list to last. What should I do? I'm putty, man. I'm putty. Mold me, right? I'm your clay. Mold me into a listing agent. Well, where would you start?
Well, you ain't gonna like this, but the first thing I would do is stop listening to everybody. Is the first thing. You got to turn down the noise.
Probably.
You got to get out of the
right?
Facebook groups. You got to stop listening to what everybody else is saying. Like when I look at, especially Facebook groups, I know you have a great one, but like,
it's not me. I'm not the naysayer or the negative guy. We don't allow it. No toxicity in my
like,
group.
get out of that stuff. Quit asking people who don't know's opinion and stay in your lane. Like, turn down the noise. Turn off the noise. Like there's so much noise out there, and we are in commission sales. And in commission sales, your mindset is everything. And when you start entertaining negative thoughts or negative ideas, or you start listening to people that don't know, that's your first mistake. And I would say this: markets come, markets go. No matter what the market is, it doesn't determine if an agent will be successful.
Boom. That's fighting words. So say that again. I think so. So people might have missed
the market
that.
Doesn't determine if you're successful or not.
Okay. That's a conversation starter. Why?
Because you're paid based on the value you bring to the marketplace. So whoever is the president, doesn't matter. Whatever interest rates are, doesn't matter. Seller's market, buyer's market, doesn't matter. Markets come and go. What I would encourage that person to be is a skillionaire, where a skillionaire is no matter what market. Like, I've been self-employed my whole life. I'm 42 years old. I mean, my first business is still in business today. Like, I've been through every market, and I've been successful every year. And no matter what, if it was the 2008, 2009 crash, I mean, that was one of my best years I've ever had. So, like, people need to get it in their head that they are not affected by the market. They're affected by how they react to the market. They're not affected by the economy. They're affected how they react to the economy. The reality is most people haven't pivoted enough. Most people aren't taking near enough action. The people that are complaining are the same people that haven't made a prospecting call in a month. And so that's why you can't listen to people, because 99% of agents aren't doing the work that they need to be doing anyway. When I took a listing a day, I was in a room by myself in my office. Like, it was like this, dude, like this. The money's in the follow-up. Like, I was on the phone to having conversations. They're out there having the office party, having having the training out there, the giving out the awards.
Brokers open. Lunch, right? Free lunch.
Yeah. Lunch and learns. I was in an office by myself, lonely, quiet, doing the work in the trenches, having the conversations that I always looked at it that way. Like, I mean, I do trainings. I do thousands of trainings. I'll be honest. People would be better off not going to a training. They would be better off just picking up the phone and doing what they know they need to be doing. So I may make them feel better about it, but it's be the person who just does the work, who isn't affected by the outside circumstances, the outside forces, and that will solve most problems. Like, it really will.
100%. 100%. And Hans, I have a great. Let me drop this anecdote real quick. A client of Power ISA hired us to do ISA work and everything. And as I was talking to her, I realized she was in crisis. This is not going well. This is in 2023. And she had typically sold 15, 20 homes a year, like clockwork. Boom, 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 boom. 2023 comes around. She had sold 3 homes, and it was August, right? And I'm like, whoa, like, how are you, like, hold on, like, we gotta figure this out. Otherwise, you're gonna pull the plug on the ISA too soon. You're not gonna run your ads. You're not gonna run anything. You don't have any money. Like, hold on, right? And I told her, where have that business usually come from? He goes, well, her sphere, like sphere, referral, recommendation. Okay, that's awesome. So like, how many times have you called them this year, like 2023? And she like, is like just dumbfounded saying, well, I've never had to call them, right? I've never like called them, like for what? Like, to ask them if they're going to buy or sell a home, or who do they know that might be thinking of buying or selling a home? She'd never picked up the phone. Like she had never had to. Haas, she never had to. She rode the market. Well, it was amazing. It was great. Deals were falling off the trees, right? And it was fine. But when things got, it wasn't even like you and I lived through 08 and 09. I mean, we know what like blood was in the streets, right? So yeah, 2023 was not easy, but it wasn't that, right? I mean, it wasn't that. So, it was rough. I'm not going to say it wasn't rough, but the issue she had wasn't the market actually, right? Got down, made a list of her. This is not even prospecting, literally calling people she already knows. Made a list of 200 people. In 90 days, cashed 20 grand in commissions. 90 days. Was in the bank. Money in the bank. From people she already knew. Like just right there. Waiting for someone to help them out. And this was like in September, October timeframe last year. So that was a pretty Merry Christmas for her, right? So, Haas, you're 100% right. Because she was like thinking about, oh man, the market is just all the interest. Who's going to want to buy? Who's going to want to sell in this market? Have you picked up the phone? Have you asked them? Do they need to buy or do they need to sell? How many people have you asked today that question, right? Because for her, the answer was 0. And the answer for the last 6 months was 0, right? Yeah. So, well, yeah, of course you're not going to find anyone that needs to buy or that needs to sell. You're not asking anybody. So yeah, man, that just resonated with me on such a level. This just happened. This was months ago, right? So she went from 0 in the bank to cashing 20 grand out of 2 transactions just from calling people she already knew. 90-day payday, right then and there. So 100%. And that wasn't even prospecting. Literally just calling people that if you called, they pick up the phone and say, how you doing? Like that, right? So I hear you.
And those agents rarely make near enough calls because they have it just coming to them. And when they do, they double and triple and quadruple their business because people love them and they have databases. Think about it. If your business is so good that your phone just rings with people, imagine if you actually ring them. You would be able to easily double. But they never do. So that this is you listening, y'all don't make near enough outbound calls to your database because you're spoiled. And so when people complain, exactly, I'd be like, pick up the phone, do this, and that's what happens. But she'll stop doing it. She'll stop. She'll forget. She'll get amnesia, and then she'll go back to that again because that always works. When you get into a market, you always go to the basics. You go to the things work. So what I would encourage you to do is don't wait for the market to get back to the basics. No matter what the market's doing, stick to the basics. No matter what is happening out there, do what you do every day, and that's the key. And I'll add this too. So one thing that's perspective. You could say it's a buyer or seller's market, and this is how many listings, and this. Go to your MLS, open it up, and tell me how many homes were listed in the last 7 days, and you'll be shocked how many listings hit the market in the last 7 days. It may be 200, 500, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 homes that became active in the last 7 days. My question to your question to yourself, listener, would be, how many of those did I take? How many of those 1,000 homes listed did I get? How many outbound prospecting calls to prospective sellers did I make? So you can't blame the market when you haven't done that part. It's your fault.
100%.
It's not the market's 100%. Fault. And so that's why I say get out of the group, stop listening to people, because that's what the industry does. It's the that and
we work ourselves into a frenzy, man. Over. And again, I'm not saying I don't misinterpret what we're trying to say. I'm not saying the NAR thing doesn't matter. It matters. It just does not matter to how many sellers you're going to talk to today. It doesn't matter at all for that. It doesn't matter at all, right? It'll matter for something else, for sure. When you're inputting that stuff in the MLS, it'll be a little bit different, no doubt. What does that have to do with you reaching out to potential buyers, potential sellers? 0 is what that has to do with that.
Here's what I will tell you too on the NAR thing, is that you should all be setting way more listing appointments than ever before because of the NAR thing.
Absolutely.
So You should, and that's the reality, is the people that are out there right now. I got a message yesterday, and I'm going to share this from one of the top realtors in the country. She said, hold on. Okay, hold on. Let's see. Back. Hold on. By the way, it's easier getting listings when you're talking openly and honestly about the buyer commission with the sellers rather than making them think they have to pay out a buyer's commission. Agents are really pressuring sellers to keep the status quo. Seems it's trust to me. But just telling you what I'm seeing on my listing appointments. She says it's easier to get listings. And that's what I'm hearing from top agents.
100%. 100%.
Top agents are taking more listings. The whiners and the people I'm talking to are not going to take any listings because they didn't take any listings before the NAR thing. You didn't take listings before the NAR thing.
How did it affect you? How many are you taking now? How many did you take last month? I mean, that's a fair question, man. That's a hard question to ask yourself. You got to ask yourself that. I mean, seriously, because for most agents, the guys listening to this, be honest. How many listings have you lost because of a NAR objection? Be honest about that, right? Because the real answer, you're either woefully unprepared. That might be it. This is going to help. We're coming from love, right? From contribution here. So maybe it's probably zero, or you just weren't prepared for that one that came up. But it's not happening right now. I think, Haas, the issue that I'm seeing agents have is not that they can't handle these crazy good seller objections at the listing appointment. That's not the issue, actually. They're not even getting to the appointment is usually the issue. They're not even talking to enough sellers to get appointments is usually the issue. I always tell agents, man, solve the first problem first. Like, are you even talking to anyone that might be thinking of selling? Well, not really. Well, then start there. Solve that problem first. Make 10 contacts every day with a potential seller. 10. Start with 10, right? Yeah. Then you're going to move on to the next problem, set the appointment. Okay, well, then get to there. And then when you actually show up to the appointment, right, you got to call my buddy Haas and go, Haas, how do I get this guy to sign? Right? That's the progression of where you want to go. But I see too many agents worry about the NAR issue. Like, that's not your problem, a NAR objection. I mean, they are out there. They exist. That's not the issue. It's holding you back. Not really. It's picking up the phone and having enough conversations, right?
You didn't do anything before the NAR thing. I mean, be real, dude. Like, you didn't. And so this is human nature. It's human behavior. We have to blame somebody for why we're not doing what we got to do. Like, when was the last time you made 5 consecutive days of outbound prospecting calls to have? And it's don't even. Here's the deal. I tell people this. They call it cold calling, prospecting, outbound calls. All of these things, it's just having conversations. This is all we're doing. So we got to have conversations. So when I say outbound prospecting, cold calling, it's just conversations. Call it what you want, the means to do it, but you got to have more conversations. It just so happens that this old telephone here is the fastest, most effective, efficient way to have more conversations. So
100%. But if you want to go out door knock, you want to go for it. I don't know, network every day. I mean, listen to Haas. Conversations. Yeah, how many conversations you have with a potential seller? Let's go even broader. Like, maybe they have a home to sell. Like, maybe, or they know someone that has a home to sell. I love that, man, because it's like, I don't want to pick up the phone. Okay, well then, how are you going to get those conversations in? What's your idea? What's your take on that? I love that.
And I love social media. Like, it's not my big thing. I don't love it. But, like, some people are able to have those conversations through video. They're able to have it through YouTube. They're able to have it through their Instagram DMs, which I don't know if anybody who's ever set a qualified listing appointment on an Instagram DM. But like, 100%. These are conversations. So, like, whatever, it's that. But here's what I prefer, though. I prefer to focus on niches. The riches are in the niches. The fastest way to take listings and have conversations is to talk to people who, number one, want to sell their home, and 2, they need your help. So but there's some people that don't want to sell their home, but they have to. Somebody going through a divorce, somebody that's behind on their mortgage, the probates, like, they may or may not want to sell, but they have to sell, so they need your help. Then there's people who want to sell. like the FISBOs, the expireds, the cancels, the withdrawals, these people that want to sell. So that would be my advice, is those niches are the fastest ways to take listings. And they always have been, they will always be there. One thing I love about those niches is it makes you more skilled. So the more conversations you have, the more skilled you become, the more skilled you get at talking about real estate, establishing your value, your credibility, what you do to solve people's problems, what you do to save them time, what you do to save them money. Because don't get it twisted. People only care about themselves, their time, and their money. So what you need to do is be able to communicate that. Like, I'll give you an example. I love listening to live prospecting calls. It's one of my ways to coach. Like, so I call this lady. This lady I coach sends me her calls yesterday. I listened to it. I go, you using a dialer? She goes, yep. I said, that split second before you say hello is costing you appointments. That technology, that gap between the hello, because we as a consumer know that that's a sales call.
Now we know. We're trained on it. We're conditioned now.
Yes,
it worked better years ago. It worked way better a few years ago. It doesn't work as well anymore. You're right, man.
I said, call from your cell phone. Why? I said, because that split second of pause is costing you appointments. And then I said, and then that first 3 seconds and what you say in that 3 seconds, because she was saying people are hanging up. I said, it's your fault they're hanging up. And it was her fault. I was like, she's like, hi, hello, is Steve there? And she's talking and the guy's talking and they're talking over each other, y'all. Like, this is common sense stuff. Like, when you sound like a salesperson, you ain't going to get conversion. When you're listening with the intent to reply instead of listening to somebody, you're not going to get conversion. When you are scared and you go into a phone call, here's an example. The biggest mistake people make, and I love talking about phone calls. I know you do too. Yep. The biggest mistake people make is this. Is I tell people every day they need to make 3 hours of prospecting calls, having conversations a day, whatever it is. So they say, well, Hoss, I got through my calls today. That wasn't the goal, to get through the calls. The intention is to not get through the calls. The intention is to set appointments.
Yeah.
The intention 100%. Is not to make 3 hours of calls. The intention is to set appointments. So if you go to your day and you set the intention of just making the calls, that's what you're going to get. You're going to have a day where you made calls. And it's a blind spot. That's not the goal. The goal is to set appointments. So reset and set the intention about what it is and why that you're doing it. And you'll experience a whole different shift in magic and in mindset and outcome when you think that way, when you set the correct intention. Because now you're just blasting through conversations. I can hear it in your conversation that you're just trying to get through the calls. You're not interested in this person. You're not asking them questions. You're rushing off the phone. Why? Because the intention is to get through your calls. And that's what you're doing. You're getting through the calls with no results. And this is something I just want to, the seed I want to plant is that sounds simple, but it's the biggest mistake that I hear people making is they're doing it for the wrong reason. And it's that simple.
And also, I've seen that. I agree with you. And I've seen it play out, in a similar fashion. So, the complaint is different. It's like, yeah, but that calling doesn't work for me. Like, I've tried it. I did the activity. I didn't get the result I wanted. Okay. So, and then I have to go tell people, okay, number one, I commend them for taking action, right? I mean, most people don't even pick up the phone. So, you're way ahead of 90% of agents. So kudos. It's good. You've solved the first problem. Like, make the call, like, get the list, get the number, sit down, make time. Okay. That's the first problem. You're still missing two other problems. Your step one is better than no step. There's step one. The next step is what you just said, Haas, which means you got to have the skill set to set the appointment, right? Mm-hmm. Number one, even talk to people. That's because most agents just never get there. That's great. Number two is turn those conversations into the result you want, right? Like follow-up calls, nurtures, set appointments, attended appointments. And then step number three, I like to lay it out this way. Step number three, face-to-face, you got to make it happen now. Because just because you set the appointment doesn't mean anything, right? Your skill set is going up. I'm not saying it's not useful, but getting in front of a seller in a market like this, man, you got to go guns blazing, got to be ready to go. But each one of those problems, those three problems, you can't skip over these, right? I made the calls. Where's the result? You need to up your skills is how you're going to get the result, right?
You need to get out of the business. Like, I'll just be honest. You do. If you're not willing to do what I'm talking about, this commission sales thing isn't for you. It just isn't. Like, you could say talk real estate, but I'm talking about commission sales. Like, that's what real estate is to me. It's commission sales. That's what we do. So don't get it twisted. Like, I'd get out of the industry. Like, maybe it's not a fit. Like, if you're not willing to do the work and having the conversation, I'm just telling you, commission sales is going to eat your lunch. It's going to eat your mind. It's going to eat your soul. Like, it's going to be brutal for you. If you're already like trying to talk yourself out of why you can't make calls or why you can't have the conversations, like, dude, you need a job. You need a salary. You need to go work for somebody else. Because, I mean, I'm just being honest. Like, I see it every day. Like, real estate is not for everybody. Why? Because it's commission sales. I mean, yeah, the average agent does 4 deals a year. So, like, if you're comfortable with that, then fine. But, like, I'm not trying to, help somebody do 4 deals a year. I'm trying to get them to do 4 deals a month.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? Like,
I agree with
it. You can, and I have a rule. Like, if I'm calling somebody and I'm talking and let's say I'm calling a FSBO. Well, I don't like FSBOs. Well, I don't like this. Like, whatever it is. Look, if I believe in myself and I believe in the value and service I provide, I need to talk to this FSBO because I'm curious as to why they're going out on their own and doing it. And I need and that ability to be able to be able to ask questions, to solve a prospect's problem, to be able to establish your value and credibility it has to happen. Otherwise, commission sales and real estate is going to be tough, especially post-NAR. If you can't establish your value and you're not willing to do it, then you need to go look in a mirror and be like, is this thing for you? Like, maybe you don't deserve the commission. Why? Because you don't believe in yourself. Why would a prospect believe in you? It's not fair to the prospect to say yes to you when you don't believe in yourself.
Yeah, 100%. Haas, I'm finding that with the NAR commission changes and everything, the biggest person agents have to convince is number one, themselves. You're right.
Yes.
Like, they have to convince themselves that they deserve to get paid. They got to convince themselves how much they actually get paid. And they have to convince themselves that they have to get paid no matter what. Like, not it maybe yes, maybe no, don't worry about it. Like, no. So you got to get out of your own way. I think it's the biggest thing. You got to convince yourself, number one. And if you're struggling with that, like you said, maybe commission only sales is really not a great thing. And one way I saw this play out, check this out. One of my best clients ever, Power ISA, he actually came from the car sales industry, right? Came into it's rare that people get into real estate from another sales, like another commission sales back. It's not common, right? People come from another commission sales. He got into real estate, and the first thing he asked was, great, I'm here, signed up in the brokerage, job out, ready to go. Where's my list? And people were like, what are you talking about? Yeah, I got to make my calls today. Where's my list? When I joined the auto, dealership, I got down, I had a list, and I had to call that every day for the first hour of the day. We just call. It was like Craigslist or inquiries or something. It was like past clients that might want to move up. It was like a million things. It didn't matter, actually, right? He said, where's my list? I got to have conversations, and I got to see who wants to buy a car. I got to have conversations. Who wants to buy a house, right? So where's my list? No one knew what the hell he was talking about. Like, what do you mean? Like, I don't know. So he realized, okay, well, I got to make my own. I'm not going to get it from anybody like he did the dealership. Fine. Let me go figure this out. And his big thing was circle prospect, not even FSBO and expire. Circle. He just sit down for an hour, talk to 30, 40, 50 people, get 1 or 2 solid leads in an hour, right? Every hour. And that's what he did. That was his number one thing. And then he hired an ISA to help him out with that, right? But he came with that approach. And when he talked to people about it, they didn't know what he was talking about. What? Like, that's job number one. If you're not having conversations every day, when are we going to get paid? That was his number one question. I admired him for that. Like, wow, man, more people should come in asking that. hey, if I'm not talking to people, I'm not going to get paid next month. So where is it? Like, where's my list? Where's my list? And I think if not, you got to answer that question yourself. Where are you going to get your list? Because Haas just laid out like 5 different ways to get one, right? Yeah. Like it can be probates, it can be circle, it can be expired. There's a million ways to skin this cat.
Database.
Right? Yeah, your database. Number one, probably your database, right? Just start there and then move up from there. But Haas, when agents come to you, right? That would be my next question. Like, do you start them at database? Do you start them with cold calling? How do you gauge where someone should focus on if they're brand new or if they're more experienced, but just not making it happen? What do you think about that?
Well, most things, do they have a database? So I'll give you an example. I learned this lesson when I first got into real estate. I blew $50,000 and I didn't take a single piece of business my first 6 months because I didn't have a database. And I was going around, I was meeting 5 people a day, putting them on my 8x8 and 33 touch campaign. Okay. Man. Yeah. And every day. And I never missed a day.
This book here.
Yeah.
From that guy.
Right. But you know what? It didn't work for me because I didn't have a database. I was building my database. That takes time.
Yeah. A lot of time.
It takes a lot of time and a lot of money to build a database. And so I found myself 6 months in, I had, I don't know, however many people that were in my database and I'm spending all this money mailing things. And I'm like, where's the business? Like, I thought people would be like coming knocking down my door.
Coming to me. Like that. It don't work that way. So do 8x8 and then you get listings, right? That's it.
That's right.
Isn't that it?
Yeah. But and so I did. Mike Reese was in my office and he goes, "What are you doing for business?" And I was like, "Man," I go, "I'm just at my 8x8 33 touch." He goes, "Man, haven't you ever heard of Warnox?" I go, "What's Warnox?" He goes, "They give you a list of all the FSBOs every day." And I go, I didn't know such a list existed. Wow. And I go, "For sale by owners?" And he goes, "Yes." And I go, went to my apartment and I was 22 at the time. I went to my apartment. I got the subscription to Warnox, which is now RedX. I believe. Yeah. It's like RedX, Landboys, the services that provide the data. And I got my list and I started calling that list. I set my first listing appointment that day, took my first listing that day. Day 2, I took my second listing. 30 days later, I had 30 listings. This is month 6 in my first year of real estate. And I remember I ran into Mike Reese and he was like, "What are you doing, dude?" I go, "Thank you for telling me about Warnox." Cause and we became like top competitors because of that. But like, it wasn't until I discovered my list of people who wanted to sell that everything turned around for me. And I finished my first year in real estate, 9 million in sales, all came from my second part of my first year. And all of it was their sale by owners. They were all listings.
Wow. 100%. So, I mean, talk about an overnight success, 6 months in the making, right? It's like, you were doing a lot of activity. You were slacking, right? You're doing a lot of work. Yes. But the results just weren't there. Right? And that's just, 100%. You can be busy as a bee, right? You can be really busy. And you were making some contacts, doing this, doing that. But there's a difference between activity and results. Right? Like, it takes activity to get results, for sure. But just doing activity doesn't mean you're going to get the result. I'm seeing a recurring theme here, Haas. Like, it's not just that. And you got some advice there. Someone came in and kind of, planted a seed, and you kind of ran with it, right? You kind of ran with it. My biggest concern when I look at agents in the market today is who's planting that seed for them. Like, where are they going for advice, right? Because, like you said, posting on some of these Facebook groups, where can I get? I haven't closed a deal in 6 months. What should I do? Probably the worst thing you can do. And I see these posts every day. I haven't closed a deal all year. I haven't closed a deal in 3 months. What should I do? And man, it's like you get the recruiters in there, you get the spammers in there, you get the lead gen companies in there. Every now and then you might see an agent that maybe knows what they're doing, maybe. And it's just like 50 comments, 100 comments, 200 comments. And I'm like, this poor agent is probably way more confused now than they were, a day ago when they asked this question. Haas, how can an agent, like you said, cut through that noise, get educated, right? and do activities that'll actually get them results. Where should people start? Go for it.
Don't listen to anybody but me and Gus. There's number one.
Well, you should listen to people that have the receipts. How about that? That actually the kind.
I think people listen to too many people. So I mean, I'm talking about, like, when I say that, like, I mean that. Like, you don't need to be listening to more than 5 people. Like, it's the same thing of going into a Facebook group and asking a question and getting 50 people's opinions. The best thing you could do is get one person's opinion, do the work, and it'll create your own opinion of it. Like, get to a point where you are experiencing somebody else's opinion and direction. And instead of trying to listen to everybody, and I know this because my first 6 months, I was going door to door in my office. Hey, agent, what are you doing for business? What are you doing? And I was asking everybody, and and this is before Facebook groups, and everybody had an opinion. And like, that is a disservice to you. And it's not more information you need; it's more action. And do not listen to anybody who hasn't done it already. That's the other mistake you can make. Is there's a real estate is filled with people who have strong opinions, but they've never done it themselves. Like, they may make you feel like they have, but like, they haven't done it. It's what you said. The people with the receipts, the people that can show you, the people that, and you'll know it because they're authentic, and it's authenticity. Is what you're looking for. You're looking to follow people that are authentic leaders, authentic people that have already done the work, because authenticity is when you believe what you're saying. And the only way you can believe what you're saying is if you experience to a level what you're saying. And that authenticity is what you're looking for. And I don't know about you, but I can pick up on that in a millisecond if somebody's done the work. I can see a video of somebody, and like that, I know if they're true, authentic or not.
Is that their first call, or is that their 1,000th call?
I can see it instantly.
Just off the bat. Yeah. And again, it's easy to, if we had someone here that never made calls, they can talk about making calls, and they might even make a good conversation because they've heard a lot of things, right? They've gone to the classes and they've read the books and they've actually done it. They can fool somebody for sure. Get them on the phone. You're done. Like, that's it. Like a couple calls, like a couple conversations, right? That's why I always tell folks, hey, don't spend, and this is funny how this shows up. When someone's hiring an ISA, someone to help them with their calls, right? There's always this nervous, man, what if I make the wrong hire? What if the experience doesn't carry over from their last job? I'm like, you're way overthinking this. Get him in the chair and let's get him a couple of days on the phone. Like, that's it. Like, no matter what, because they want to do more interview rounds and they want to do all these psychometric tests and they want to check all the, recruit select, 3 levels of references and 15 calls. I go, get them on the phone, make a few calls, and you'll have your answer. Like in a few hours, right? And, and people fight me on that, right? Because, and I came from the whole recruit select thing, I understand it. I get it. It happens to not apply very well to that role, ISA, because it's a phone role, okay? It's a phone role. So things that are on the phone, I'm not saying this applies to everything. Phone sales, and I think sales in general, show me what you can do. Don't talk a good game. A lot of people can talk a good game. Show me what you can do. And all the masks come off. Very, very good. People doubt that a lot of times. They don't think it's true. Like, don't do your 8 rounds of interviews. Don't do your 18 psychometric tests, your 18 hours of reference checking. Get them on the phone. For a fraction of the cost of that, get them on the phone. And if they don't work, hire the next person.
You're right, because I've done sales jobs like that, and I've never in my life gone through a hiring process that wasn't other than, all right, get out there, let's see what you got. Like, even when I was a door-to-door salesman before I got into real estate, like, my interview was following somebody around that day as a door-to-door salesman. Like, in the trenches, and you can see it on their face if they got it in them or not. And phone sales, I'll just say commission sales is like what you're saying. It does not apply to that. Like, I feel like I could sell anything if I believe in the product. Like, I mean, and to think of, I don't have a college degree, by the way. That would be my first thing. Do you have a college degree? Then you're out because the best commission salespeople probably didn't go to college.
100% true.
But yet we couldn't get it. Like, I couldn't get a job at a corporate sales position anywhere in America because I don't have a degree. To me, that's silly. You're looking for people that are rough around the edges, people from the trenches, people that have done it, sold something. And here's the key: Somebody that has done repetitious selling. That's what you're looking for. The key is the repetitious selling, whether it be gym memberships, whether it be solar, whether it be real estate, setting appointments. It's It's the talking to 100 people a day, making 100 calls a day, knocking 100 doors a day. That is what conditions the person to be able to do it. And until that conditioning happens, you're going to have to get them conditioned. And that costs you time and money. It's better for them to come to you already conditioned to be able to have that muscle, those scars, than having to go, because they're going to have to go through it one way or the other. It's same thing with agents.
Like it
You're
or
going to
not.
have to go
Like
through
it or
it and
not.
build that muscle yourself. That's why it's just better to do the work. Do the work, what you know you got to do, so you can become conditioned to get the scars, to build the muscle, to be able to have the conversations, to be able to do what you got to do in this commission sales game.
I love it. I love it. And Hans, I want to be mindful of the time, but I got one more question for you. One more question. So, let's say someone's listening to you, newbie agent, or maybe not even a newbie agent, but an agent needs to recharge, it needs to restart, they need to reset, right? They're usually come to Jesus moment. They're kind of in the same boat. Brand new agent, an agent that knows they have to make a change, right? And they're listening to us already, been listening to us for 40 minutes, and they're like, okay, Haas, I'll play. I got it. I got to get those conversations in. I'm bought in. I got it. I got to put in the work. Got to stop worrying. Got to stop listening. Got to stop doing that. I get it. Where should they start if they're bought in on the model and they're bought on the process? What would you recommend they get started? Does the list even matter? What would you suggest that they find their list, or how should they find their list? Go.
You're looking for listings, folks. It's a simple conversation. It's a simple script. We have more buyers than we have homes for. We're looking for people that want to sell their house. So everybody that you're calling has more equity in their property today than they ever have before. So all we're doing is we're whether it be FSBOs, whether it be expires, your database, divorcees, probate, 30, 60, 90-day lates on your mortgage, the NODs, the absentee owners, that we're doing is we're calling and we're saying, hey, the reason I'm reaching out to you is because I'm curious, if the opportunity presented itself, would you consider selling your home? No, I wouldn't sell. Okay, so you wouldn't sell your property even if the offer made sense? No, I wouldn't. Okay, well, who do you know then? Does anybody come to mind? Because we have more buyers and we have homes to sell. So we're looking 100%. For people that want to get their home sold for top dollar. Does anybody come to mind? No, you know what? My cousin was talking about it the other day. He was thinking about that's the whole conversation. You're looking for sellers and people who want to sell for top dollar and extract maximum equity of the sale of their home. Like, this is an easy conversation. Never in the history of real estate have these people had so much equity. And you think, well, then where they go? We'll cross that problem when we get there. The first conversation is what I just said. So you start with your database. You have that conversation with your database. Then you pick up a couple niches. Depending on where you are, like some of you have a vacation rental market that is I would go there because there's a lot of opportunity there. Some of you have a lot of expireds. I would go after those. Some of you have a lot of FSBOs. I would go after those. I love the whole downsizing niche as well. That niche is going to be one that is big now, and it's going to continue to be big.
Only going to get bigger. It's only going to get bigger, man.
I'd be going after downsizing like a mother, and I would be one of the experts in the downsizing niche. And it's having that conversation. All we're doing is looking for people who are interested in selling their home.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm not trying to say it's easy, but it actually is that simple, guys. It's as simple as that. It is as simple as that. Like, whatever list you encounter, you tackle on, that's the conversation you want to get to. Period. End of story.
Yes.
Do they have any interest, a desire to sell their home under these really advantageous circumstances? Would you have any interest in that? Because guess what? I've got a list of like 15 buyers that are looking in this area, right? And if you don't have a list of buyers, call your database, like Haas said, and find buyers. Like, find renters that want to buy.
Yeah.
Now I have 10 buyers. Now I have 10 buyers looking for.
But the key is this:
make the call.
The key is if there was a buyer who wanted to purchase your property. I didn't say I have a buyer that wants to purchase your property. It's if there was a buyer that wanted to purchase your property, would you consider selling? Why is that important? Because as soon as a property hits the market, we're going to generate buyers. Yeah, so 100%. Don't overthink that part of it, because it's hard to sell something when you think you're lying. And so you need to come to terms.
And some people get hung up on that. They're like, no, hold on. Wait,
I don't have a buyer.
I tell people if you're hung up on that, if that's really what's stopping you in this market, like go throw a stone, you'll hit like 2 buyers in the street. Probably call the phone book, call your database, call your old internet leads, get the buyers, and then make the call. Like that's
the buyers come when you get the listing. The buyers come 100%. When it hits the MLS. So
that's the real answer. That's the real answer.
That's the answer. So like if there was a buyer that wanted to purchase your property, is the question. Because you will procure the buyers as soon as it hits the market. And you have a lot of buyers out there. So they say, why do you have a buyer? Yeah, there's a lot of buyers out there looking to buy. The problem is we don't have the listings to sell them. Would you consider selling if there is a buyer that wanted to purchase your property? That's what you do. And you have that conversation every day with a lot of people.
100%. Quick, before we finish up, quick question from Chris. So, Haas, that's an interesting question. Do you recommend, because you said Warnocks, do you recommend any one of these Red X, Vulcans, Land Voices of the world? Are they all the same? Have you seen any, with your clients and what you see, have you seen any interesting differences? Interesting question. What do you say about that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's like fuel for your gas, man. Like you got to have fuel. So like when you go to the gas station, I fill up my Escalade, I fill that thing up with that premium fuel. Like I need that fuel to drive. I need that data to be able to do what I got to do. So yes, you need the data. And by the way, if anybody reaches out to me, Haas at HaasPratt.com, I will hook you up like a tow truck. Just tell me that you heard from me on the Gus interview. I will hook you up, and I will get you some tools. I will also help you with how to get that truck fueled up for you.
I love it. And Haas, that was actually my last question going on. Hey, Haas, if people, met you here for the first time, they want to continue the conversation, they want to connect with you, they want to join one of your coaching calls, like what is the best way to get in touch with that? Is that Haas at HaasPratt.com?
Yep. Or if you prefer to text me 972-998-5392. 972-998-5392. Text me and I will talk to you. That's my cell right there. I'm the real deal, bro. I will, you know what I'm saying? I will talk to you. So just reach out to me. Do your part.
I love it. And I can attest to that. Haas does respond to those texts. I texted him to make sure he didn't forget. And the guy always gets back to me. So I love it, Haas. Appreciate you, man. Thank you so much. And this is going to be a great one, man. We're going to get some good clips out of this interview. It's going to be a really, really good one. I'm sure people are going to love it. Thank you, man. I appreciate you.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate you too, man. Keep it up.